Yo, 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 what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Weedman 420 Chronicles Grow Hour. How are all our gardeners doing out there? Big Earl, what's up, my brother?
What's up, man? Not much this way. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and you know why. We're about to get normal, brother.
Yeah.
What are you smoking on this show tonight?
I pulled down some autos like 12 days ago. They're a little wet for me. Still, but I should get a real nice taste test off them at least. So this is the Ursula Berry Bat Cross I'm smoking. What about you?
Nice. And we have a special guest on tonight who's going to be joining the show and smoking a big fat bowl with us. We have John from Anden here. John, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh, we love it, man. And you're joining us in some smoke sesh tonight. So what are you smoking on?
Some Topanga Pure Kush from a little bit of the homegrown.
Nice. Yeah. And I love a good Kush. We've talked about it many times. Any Kush strain does well for my body. So, and tonight, so you home growed it, huh?
Oh yeah,
it's home grow. Nice. Yeah. So you're a home grower too. I love it. How long you been home growing for?
17 years.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love it. So I'm smoking some grapefruit sour diesel that someone gave me, so I'm super stoked on trying this. And so let's all smoke sesh real quick. Big Early, I'm gonna light this up. You got anything to say?
Yeah, this is the first time I've tasted this Ursula Berry. Actually, it I guess it's officially tested. It threw out about 75% purple, pink flowers, super heavy stacker, and then that Florida peaches is smelling sour. The whole line, this whole last auto line has been super sour.
And you've been super stoked about the auto lines you've been growing lately too. Super stoked.
Yeah, they're like filling gaps in my garden that were just gaps before. Because I hunt a lot of seeds. And so it used to be like, well, shit, if I get a 30% female to ratio of 70% males, I'm fucked. Like, I just have to try to fill my area in. But now with these autos, I can just pop some of those, like I run my flower 70 to 80 days anyway. They're 75 days finish. So I might have to have them in there 5 or 10 days longer at the most, but I can just like fill gaps. That's all I've been doing with them, really. I've been loving it.
Well, the pictures you've been posting on social media have been phenomenal, man. The trichomes and the crystallys that I love so much, and just the way the plants have been growing, man, it's just quite impressive. So, and we're gonna have somebody on the show in the future talking about autos we're super stoked about. So, but let's get this show started and with our guest John, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who's John. Give me the fucking mix here, John. Tell us a little about where you got your start from. You said you've been homegrown for 17 years. Tell us a little bit about you.
Man, started off in North Carolina of all states about 17 years ago. I was going to school and was actually like waiting tables and just kind of hustling, enjoying college town life. And, the plant was always a part of my life from an early age up till around then, but that's when I really started cultivating indoors. I started working at a grow store, learning by just screwing up. Honestly, that's a big part of learning, or for me it was at least. And then started managing a grow store for that same company. Worked for a wholesaler, worked for a couple manufacturers. It's been quite an experience, but the cultivation side of things always been really the heart and soul of it for me. I really enjoy the plant and, everything it does for all the people out there.
So let me ask you a question. You've been home growing and working in the industry for 17 years. You started in North Carolina though, which that state still is just not even medical or recreational. So you've been doing it for a while. How was your setup back then? Like, did you do it in a closet? Did you have a tent? Did you hide it out in the field somewhere and just sprinkle some fairy dust and hopefully you got some grow? How'd you do it?
So
we have a big following in North and South Carolina. So this is kind of interesting. I mean, like,
I started off
following.
outdoors. Actually, I was at my girlfriend at the time's. Her mom was a breast cancer survivor, and her son brought back some K2 seeds from Amsterdam. And I was over at the mom's house one time. She just busts out this jar of like great taste and great smelling weed out of the freezer. I'm like, where did this come from? I mean, honestly, it was like there were beasters everywhere at the time. Just kind of like commercial weed was everywhere, and good like homegrown headies were hard to come by. So, like I was like, damn. She goes, yeah, I grow this outside. You can grow it outside in the backyard if you want. So that was like the first kind of grow, and it was fun. I loved it. People were like, you got to get that bag with like the fox on it. And, I got like 1-2 liter bottles of worm casting tea from like the local co-op. And then I found out about the grow store and just kind of went there. But, and then I transitioned indoor pretty quickly. Once I kind of got like an understanding of the lighting and my first indoor setup. I mean, it was not a tent. Eventually I would use like tents for like for certain things, but nothing against tents by any means. It just, I would use like tents more for like propagation. Like it's easier to like keep clones in kind of a stable place. Like you can clone with the dome off if you're using a tent, the right way. And so, but anyway, like I would find a place. I mean, really, I was renting, so I would always be like very, very particular about the place I would find, and I would want there to be like an extra bedroom, or sometimes it would be like an extra laundry room, like one of those separate laundry rooms, and you could kind of rig up. One time I rigged up like a window unit on sort of like there was a closet in a sense. And then I had an extraction fan dumping all the hot air from the AC side into a lung room and treating it with ozone. I mean, it was just like you did whatever you could with what you could get relative to like, getting a place that had like a relatively chill landlord, one that would leave you alone. I mean, because it was 100% black market. I moved to Michigan, where I am now.
Wait, hold on, real quick. We call it the traditional market on this show.
Traditional market. Sorry, that is, I guess, that's like not the right way of saying it. I'm not. I'm out. Yeah, my bad. But
no worries. I'm just busting your chops.
No, but fair. It is fair to say it makes sense. But anyway, I moved here with I moved to Michigan with a cooler full of plants from North Carolina. And actually I got evicted in Michigan from my first garden because I was, I wasn't really, I don't know. The guy knew how to play the rules, and I wasn't welcome in doing that, I guess. Anyway.
I got you. Rule breaker. I love it. Let me ask you a question. So when you were back in North Carolina, how many plants did you actually like in the rooms? Like, were you keeping? I know when I lived in Florida, I did kind of the same thing, but how many plants were you able to manage and keep without kind of getting in trouble? Let's just say.
If you were going to grow one in North Carolina, you'd might as well grow 99 because there wasn't any penalty until you hit 100. I mean, the penalty was there, but it didn't matter. The difference between growing 1 and 99, there was no difference. But once you hit 100, that was the federal number. So you never did more than 99.
Everybody in North Carolina, remember, 99 red balloons go by. Okay, so 99 plants is your key right now. Keep it real. All right.
It's true.
So you say you're in Michigan right now. Are you you have a caregiver license there, or you just have your regular just grow card?
Caregiver. I mean, but it's just small scale caregiver.
So right, congratulations, man. I love it. I totally am 100%. I mean, of course, I'm with a very good friend of mine, Big Earl here, is a caregiver. I totally believe every state should have a caregiver program. I think it should be welcoming in every state and not just all run by the corporate manifesto in every state that it's turning into. I think caregiver programs, just like home brewers, I think caregivers should be able to grow and be able to give their weed and be able to make a little money off of it to help support their grow. And I love it. So I think every state should look into that. I think Michigan is phenomenal for doing that, even though there was fights a couple months ago and years ago, and there's companies out there trying to stop home grow. But I believe in it fully, and I'm proud that you are another caregiver out there. It's awesome. So in your garden right now, what you throwing at us? What you got going?
I mean, it's I've had more in the past, but I'd say like I have Topanga Pure Kush. I mean, Rabbit Hippie, Kush Mints. Greg's a good dude. I like Greg, and he gave me that cut a long time ago, and I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's rocks. It's great cut. Somebody gave me a Kush. Somebody gave me a Kush Mints F2 that I haven't flowered out yet. So, I mean, and then Gary Payton. I've have a decent amount of access to some stuff, but I've kind of been slacking on that side of things. I haven't really been pushing the envelope in terms of like new genetics and new flavors. But the Topanga Pure Kush, I mean, it's not a new flavor by any means. It's a really old one, but it's just not a common one, and it's one of my favorite.
Since you've been growing for 17 years, what's the one that got away?
East Coast Sour Diesel.
Oh,
and no, actually, Lamb's Bread crossed with Super Silver Haze. That would really be the one. That was the North Carolina one. Anybody who's like been at it for a long time in North Carolina, Lamb's Bread crossed with Super Silver Haze. That smelled like dog shit, but it was like a great smell of dog shit. It was crazy, and that was the best. I don't know if there's anybody out there who has it. If you do, good job. There were some Lamb's Bread, like real deal Lamb's Bread in North Carolina, and it might still be there because North Carolina is still probably the same the way it used to be. I mean, it was kind of if it wasn't like a community of people all like being open by any means. You kept your circle tight, and that was one of the nice things about, I guess, being in the garden store to some degree is it. I don't know. Anyway.
Did you get the wink? Like when someone came in, they give you the little wink, the side eye, like, hey, you know what's up, right? I need this, and this. And they give you a wink and you're like, oh yeah, I got you.
It was an interesting experience. Definitely. There was a whole lot of figuring things out and feeling things out and like, paranoia and it's because it definitely and I don't know if there still is, but there definitely was. And
I bet you there's still is a little bit now. I mean, even though it's cannabis and everyone's like, it's cannabis, but still in states that are not legal, they still probably a little afraid. I mean, I used to go to Ohio every once in a while and for training, and I knew some people from Kentucky that would bring me up some good Kentucky Kush is what I called it, and they would bring it down from the mountains, and I'd get an ounce of it and smoke a lot. I was in Ohio while I was there, and I tell you what, those folks in Kentucky, just like probably North Carolina, knew how to grow some great outdoor cannabis in those mountains. Phenomenal. So I feel it. I understand it. And I love to hear that the grow in North Carolina is there. But it's there, and I love it that 17 years ago you were running it, with some great strains back then. It's crazy to hear those strains that you were running back then in North Carolina. That's awesome. So now, all right, let's get on to Anden, the company. Tell us a little bit about it, man. Seems like you're pretty passionate about it, from what Big Earl told me. So it seems like you've been doing it for a hot minute. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. I mean, we're a division of a bigger company, but we came with the focus of building something for the cultivation setting. And, that's like my experience has been in cultivation, also in selling equipment. So I was kind of curious to see, and the company showed me that they had all the equipment and that they were really invested in making it for, the application. And so that's kind of what you see, like they at Anden, like we weren't first to market. We couldn't just do what we couldn't just rest on our residential manufacturing laurels. We had to do something that was an improvement. And then also, I wanted to see that improvement. The other people at the company wanted to see that improvement. And so, we made the units with the components to give you the control you're looking for across the broad range of conditions you see in the garden, because that's really what it's about. You want to control it for a couple reasons. One, to avoid issues. You don't want to hit dew point and have the potential to grow mold. And then two, like, you want control to be able to push the plant the way it needs to be pushed relative to what's going on. Sometimes you need it to be, a tighter differential in temperature and humidity. Sometimes you want it to be wider. If it's wider, that means the unit's probably going to have to be performing at lower temperature, lower humidity, and it's going to have to work harder. And so you need to plan for that and how you design the equipment. And that's kind of the stuff that we did at Anden to really raise the bar. And then, we've done some things that are kind of not so sexy, like a better warranty, 5-year warranty on all parts. It's not the sexiest thing, but it is an improvement. Another way we've raised the bar is serviceability, because the idea is if you're in a facility and you have a unit up above plants, or if you have a unit anywhere in a garden, downtime is not a good thing. And so shit happens. When shit happens, how do you deal with it? So we make the units to where we can diagnose it over the phone, get the part there, and get it swapped out instead of having to take the unit, send it off, get it back. So for a lot of the facilities in particular who have the equipment up in a garden above plants, that's been a big thing. And as a gardener myself, I use the equipment. I have the equipment in my garden, and I can tell you, I've done, I'm familiar with the equipment. I understand how it works, and I've popped the sucker off to sea, and it doesn't take anyway.
Well, explain the equipment then. Explain the units, but explain what you are actually selling and building too. I guess I should have been more specific. Also, I forgot to ask that question. I'm stony baloney already. But you should. What is the equipment that you're selling in the units? To explain that too, so our audience knows.
Okay, I'm sorry. We make dehumidifiers and humidifiers specifically for the cultivation setting, I guess, is probably what I should have initially said.
It's all right. My fault. I should have asked that question first.
That's my bad. The Topanga Pure Kush threw me off. It's talking, but yeah, we make them specifically for that. We make them in Madison, Wisconsin, so they're made in the U.S.
Great state, great city too. Yeah. Love me some Madison.
It is Madison.
That state needs to be fucking legal now. They got some good soil up there, man. It's a shame.
That's the truth. And it's fun when we go to sales meetings out there. You get to have some really good food and some, good drinks. And I mean, the safety meeting you got to have safety meetings for sure. So we always have a good time with the Anden crew.
Nice.
But yeah, we make them in Madison, Wisconsin. I mean, kind of I touched on the background. We have a background in residential dehumidification, but that's not what Anden's made. That's our lineage, and we've got decades of experience in manufacturing and supporting product, which is, I think, a very good thing to be able to say. But then Anden's its own division with its own focus, and we have some products out there that are unique to the market and offer a higher level of control, kind of like I touched on.
Nice. Good to be one American made. Congrats. Love
Thank
it.
You.
Love to hear it. Keeping the jobs here in the United States. Love it. What's the procedure for these huge places that Big Earl was telling me that you post all the time? Give us a little background of that.
Okay, yeah.
They call you. What are the things you ask them for, and how does that all kind of go for people? Because I think that's pretty. I've seen some of it, and it's pretty cool. Just to it's almost like a math equation for you guys at a certain point.
Yeah. No, it's what we do is we try to get an idea of what is going on in the space. I mean, the dimensions of the space, how many plants, what size containers, but really what's most important is peak water consumption information and peak water consumption operating conditions. So we want to know, at the how much water is going into the room at the peak of flower and at what conditions it needs to be removed, because the plants are going to put most of the water you give to them back into the air. Your air conditioner is going to remove about 25% of that as a byproduct of cooling. And then at lights off conditions, that's when your dehues are going to have to carry the load. And so in veg, your lights off conditions are probably going to be close to what your lights on conditions are, maybe right there, real tight differential, kind of like I touched on. So, you can sort of size off the performance of the unit at the AHAM rating, the listed rating on our spec sheet, which is the 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 60% conditions. But, a lot of people late flower, they're looking to drop that temperature, drop that humidity, keep that temperature, 70 degrees, maybe lower. People do all, everybody's got their own approach, and, drop that humidity. And then that's when you need to kind of look at the performance of the unit relative to those conditions to make sure that you've sized accordingly to the load and the conditions it needs to be removed.
That's interesting. Big Earl's gonna take over now because these are hard questions and I can't pronounce some of these words right now. So I'm gonna let Big Earl take over. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we talked about in our last episode some really basic atmosphere stuff like VPD, and we compared PAR to CO2 and different things. What can the real basic, and we'll get into it a little bit deeper too here in a second. When your plant doesn't have you don't have the humidifier and dehumidifier, you can't keep it cool enough or warm enough. What kind of things, pop into your head first? Like what happens in your garden really, Can you go a little deeper for people for me, just to kind of...
Oh, I mean, if you don't have the control.
Yeah, if you don't have the control in there.
I mean, if you don't, one thing I touched on is if you don't control your humidity and your temperature swings, and the amount of moisture air holds is a lot higher at those higher temperatures than at the lower temperatures. And so when it goes from high temp to low temp, you hit dew point, and the water condenses out onto the plant, and then you kind of hit those conditions for the biology to grow and spoil the plant. So that's one thing. And then another is, I mean, if you don't control the environment, you really can't get the most out of the grow either. I mean, the idea of growing indoors is you're kind of like in total control, but you're trying to condense that plant's life in a shorter period of time. And so every day in its life is a day where something could go wrong. And if it does go wrong, it's going to have a much more dramatic effect. So like outdoors, it's a longer season. I mean, you will still run into issues there. I remember in the store, people coming at the end of the season to buy the hydrogen peroxide and, whatever they could do to stop the bud rot. And, but I mean, yeah, it's a matter of, either crop failure or not being able to really push it and get the best out of it. And it's not just having the tonnage or having the right size, right amount of pints per day removal. It's also about like using that equipment properly. I mean, every piece of equipment in the garden is like a tool, and that tool has to be swung right, or, it's like there's this guy who I used to work with who was he's an OG in the industry of like manufacturing equipment. He started off this company called Green Air Products, which was like a major manufacturer of like controls. And then he went and started Titan controls with Sunlight Supply. He used to say it's not the bat, it's the guy swinging the bat. So like, I hate to be a jerk, but you have to know how to use the equipment in order to get the right results too. So it isn't just about getting it size right. I mean, one thing I see happen that can throw people's charts off and get them freaking out about their humidity is when their air conditioner isn't staged or it doesn't modulate relative to the daytime heat load and the nighttime heat load, because like there's a lot more heat lights on conditions than there is lights off conditions. And so if you have 40 tons dedicated to to lights on, and then it hits lights off, and your dehues and fans and whatever's running generates the heat to take you 1 degree above set point. And you have 40 tons slam on and overcool. I mean, it's going to make the graph go crazy. So, I mean, yeah, you just, you got to get the right equipment if you don't want to. If you want something more than seasonal success, if you want like long-term consistent success, you got to get the right equipment, and then you got to learn how to use that equipment. And then that's how and then you ultimately get the best results.
What would they do right there then? Like turn half their air conditioning off at nighttime, basically, so it doesn't overcool too fast?
You would just take the total wattage. You take the total wattage of your nighttime equipment and whatever's running at lights off conditions, and you multiply that by 3.412, and that's how many BTUs of heat, and then you multiply that by 1.25, and that's how many BTUs of cooling you want, and then you divide by 12,000, and that's how many tons of cooling you want for that.
I'm shitty at equations. Damn.
No, that's awesome. I mean, that makes sense, because a lot of people, I've seen things that are like, well, we have 70 tons of AC. It's 2 times more. We did the math. It's 2 times more AC than we need. And I'm not. I tell people I'm not like an expert, but I do, and I have read stuff about how when you have too much of the air conditioning, it happens too fast, and then you have this like shutting on, shutting off, shutting on, shutting off, shutting on, and you run into a lot of different problems. So I didn't. I know I had talked to you a little bit in some different gardens, and you, like I said, you sent me basically an equation. I was like, oh wow, this is a lot. That like it's not just like, hey, you need to throw a dehumidifier in there. Like when I knew that already, a little bit, but not to that extent.
Well, and it's
let me ask a quick question real quick. Sorry, for a small little tent, either a 2x4x6 or a 4x4 or 3, whatever. What do you suggest humidifier wise? Like what I mean, somebody like myself, I'm using a baby humidifier. I mean, that was my budget at the time, and I've been using it ever since because I'm too cheap to go buy a real one. So, but what do you suggest for somebody like myself to keep that tent regulated? Because I have some swings because I don't have an air conditioner in the little tent. It's my home. So right now it's wintertime, so the house is dry. So somebody like myself, and there's plenty of other little small home growers out there. How do we keep that consistency? I know you're talking about very big grows, but let's go back, step down to me, the newbie home grower that doesn't know shit, and I want to grow good weed to smoke and give out to my friends and family. What do you suggest to keep that regulated there?
I mean, a lot of it's going to be like air exchanging in your tent with the room outside of it, and controlling the room outside of it, and controlling it with like whatever you need relative to the load. You'll still need to want to kind of do that math and kind of figure out how much, and you'll have to sort of look at your DHU and what it's rated at relative to what conditions to see like really if it's giving you what you want, if you're looking for consistency. But I mean, it's a little bit trickier in terms of that. Like, I mean, there'll be some dialing, you'll have to kind of dial some air on the knot. You get the fan speed controls. I mean, I worked with some tents to some degree, but you have to kind of get the fan speed controls going to make sure that you're not sucking the walls into the tent and you're getting a good air exchange going. What
happens if you have a wife that's always cold and she tries to raise the heat on you all the time? What do you do about that?
To lock over the thermostat. Cool.
There you go. Exactly. That's a dad move right there.
So with my tent, I built like a skeleton structure out of PVC pipe and then I'm probably too abusive, but have you ever seen somebody? I water 3 times a day, but it's only when my lights are on, with the hopes of not adding that extra moisture at night. Is that me being stupid and having like this, being like, oh, look how smart I am? Or do you see, could you see a benefit to that?
I mean, watering at night?
No. I water only during the day.
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't do that. Yeah, only do that. Don't water at night.
Yeah, all right. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
man, if I only water, and then it's like for 12, actually for 14 hours, it doesn't get watered. Then it gets watered 3 times in 8 hours, and it loves it. But it's like I do it, and in my head, I think, well, the daytime can
Or you're,
zap out.
or when you say at day, are you saying at night? Are you saying like, I'm talking like lights on. I mean, you only water on lights
Yeah,
on at lights on, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, never water with
yeah,
lights
yeah,
off.
yeah. Okay. Just
Okay.
Good tip of the day.
Yeah.
Good stoner tip of the day. Don't water when the lights are off.
Do No, we haven't touched a little bit. What about like things like powdery mildew? How can that, having those big swings, having that control not be there? How can that affect the different mold grows and the problems that you can like commonly run into in gardens?
I mean, I think like temperature swings and hitting dew point in water, kind of condensing out, and then the biology being present too. I mean, that's really just a perfect recipe. I mean, you can. I know people where I'm sure they have powdery mildew present, but they don't give it the conditions to really get going, and that's kind of one of the things is you can avoid having a problem. Just like certain strains will be resistant, like if you control the space, like you can create conditions that aren't conducive towards it, even though like maybe something could get in there to some degree. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not advocating, like, first and foremost, I advocate like preventative maintenance. Like I spray micronized sulfur with the idea of it being like a way of not having to deal with problems and control the space, and it's definitely better to be preventative and on top of it, and
Yeah.
strip down. I mean, you're the only one in your garden. Do what you got to do to not bring bugs in. I used to, if it meant getting down to my skivvies, I'd get down to the skivvies just to be able to feel that at least peace of mind. Maybe I didn't have bugs on me, but I knew there's no way I was bringing it in, no way I was bringing mold in. But yeah, you control the space and avoid hitting dew point, because the amount of moisture the air holds is going to differ relative to the temperature,
And so we talked about vapor pressure deficit, and that's really what that's referring to, right? Like when the vapor pressure is too high, it squeezes the moisture out of the air, and that's when you get that dew on things. Or am I way off?
I do not know well enough to say yes or no to that. I wish I did, but no, nothing.
Good answer.
Nothing to be
Good
said.
answer.
I could be way off. I'm just swinging. For
you might be you might be on too. I just don't know. But yeah, I mean, it is important to not give the opportunity for the biology to take a foothold and controlling the space, the temperature, the humidity. That's key, and not bringing it in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's huge. I with dogs, I totally agree. It's huge. We were talking the other day, and Gary told me once. Gary watched your garden when you'd go out of town or do different things. I worked with Gary, and he told me once that when you water, you only want to water 500 milliliters at a time. Like more than 500 milliliters per plant, but just 500 milliliters only at a time, and then wanted all that water to go down, and then wanted more. I think I know just about the even watering, and maybe you just didn't want to water too fast. But what could you explain that a little bit? So I know it's.
I don't think that was it. The guy who actually gave me the East Coast sour diesel plant a long time ago and was the original breeder of it. He would go in and he would like first it'd be time to water the plants, and he would just go in there and he'd give them one cup of water or pint of water and let it soak in and kind of bring everything into solution, more or less, was what he claimed. But I mean, what I do is I do half and then half, like I'll water half And then, and honestly, I'm constantly tinkering and having fun. And like, I don't have some book, and I'm not like by any means here to say like, this is how you have to do it. Like everybody's system is, should be kind of tailored to what they want and what they're trying to accomplish. And like, there's going to be some learning and some stuff like that. And that's kind of where I'm at, and I run a lot of things that I will continue to run and really enjoy, but I also like change things up a little bit. But yeah, what I have been doing mainly is kind of like not flooding the plant all at once. And then also I kind of like give it maybe more water per watering in early flower, like in veg and early flower, and then kind of like less, like maybe you get 7 pints for a 3-gallon pot in soil in early flower, and then 6 when I'm like have like real flower sites like set already, but again, like I'm not saying to do that. Some people will be like, that's stupid. It's just what I've been doing. and I'm happy.
It's not stupid. If it's been working for you,
it works for me.
Then yeah, if it works for you, works for you. Some people do things their own way and figure out ways to make it work for your grow, for your system. That's just in general in life, period. But it pertains to what you're doing. You found a system that works. Are you growing great weed? Are you growing?
I love the weed I grow.
Well, fuck everybody else then. If anybody comes and says, "Oh, he's doing it wrong," well, if he's growing great weed and it's fucking good for his caregiving program and for him, fuck you, because he's found a way that might work for somebody else one day. So somebody might be listening to you going, "That makes sense," because what I was doing is not working. I'm going to try John's way, and it might work for them. So great suggestion. I love it. Never stupid. Never. Never.
Oh yeah. Organic? Yeah, I mean, but I wouldn't call it organic. Like, I kind of don't use that. I mean, because I don't know. It's like, again, like there's some things about it that probably aren't technically organic, and I'm just trying to grow the weed. Like, there was this weed I smoked in North Carolina a long time ago called Juicy Fruit, which by the time I got to Michigan, people were like, Michigan's played out, or that's played out in Michigan. But this guy grew it amazingly. He grew these vertical baker's racks around cool tubes, like these dual 600-watt cool tubes. There's a guy who came from California to northern to like an Asheville area of North Carolina, and he grew the best weed ever. And so the way he grew it was like with this biodynamic soil from, I forget what the name of the place was, but he would use very like basic organic bases, that's kind of what I've tried to do too. If I use anything like beyond something like that, it's just kind of like to push the plant in a direction or other as I see that working personally. Again, like I try to have some decent reasoning behind it and rational thought, but I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
Science.
That's how it tastes so good. I feel like when you can do that like raw organic and break it down, it's like uncomparable with flavor and stuff.
It's fun. It was really impressive. The guy, and I mean, when I taste my weed, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm there. Or sometimes I'm like, I wasn't there. But that's kind of the milestone.
Yeah, 100%. So, in all your years, what just for everybody, what's the one thing that you could take away from the industry, from gardening? What's one thing you could tell everybody that you want everybody to know? Gardening.
The cream rises, I guess. The cream rises.
Hey, like
stay at it and work hard and do what you like, and it'll work out. Things will be tough, and but yeah, it's the plant is a great plant, regardless of how some things could go, and the madness of the industry at times.
Yeah, that's true. Let me ask you. Let me elaborate on that. What you just said, the industry. How? I mean, you've been around for 17 years. I mean, I mean, longer than that, obviously, but 17 years of growing and really exploring the plant, seeing the industry being from the traditional market in North Carolina, but coming to Michigan, which is just full blown craziness. What have you seen? What's your likes and dislikes on it? And give us your opinion. I mean, I don't, if you don't want to answer it, I get it, because you work in the industry. So, but I mean, what are you seeing that you like, that you don't like? Maybe even just the whole thing right now, the whole United States, of the states that are legal. So,
I mean, I think it's tricky. I don't know. It's kind of like I wish I really knew the answer, but it isn't. I think if I did, I'd be a rich man. But what I liked about Michigan was kind of really I came up here knowing what Michigan was like, but coming to it pretty late. I mean, Michigan's had a really good scene. They were good before 2008, but in 2008, that's when the whole the whole like caregiver program launched, and it kind of it built a really strong culture in Michigan. And so the traditional market in Michigan has segued into the licensed market to a decent degree, and that's pretty cool. I can't hate on that by any means. I think that's really cool, actually. And they had to scrap for that, and to some degree, this is the system like built in a way that's great for them or great for anybody. Like that's I don't know. I don't want to say yes or no.
No, I feel you.
But
yeah.
But it is. I mean, I think that you got to carve your brand out. The market has to mature. Right now, it's a heavily commoditized product, and I kind of look at it like the beer or liquor market, and sort of coming out of prohibition. And to what it is now. I mean, hopefully it doesn't take that long, but there was a maturation process for the palate to be refined to enough of a degree to demand that like places cater more towards like seasoned people. Because I mean, the three of us probably are relatively like not like relatively seasoned in that we have like decently high expectations. We probably consume a decent amount relative to like maybe like one of these new people that a licensed or that a business is looking and hoping, well, now that things are legal, these people will smoke, these people will consume too. And I think a lot of times when the new consumer comes on board, they're not, smoking joints. They're like nibbling on an edible maybe, and
Yeah. Speaking of that, when you mention, I'm a little older than both of you, so, but I mean, I've been smoking for a very, very long time. But when you talk to people now that it's your neighbors, that when they found out you smoked weed 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, they gave you that look. But now you see them at a barbecue, and all of a sudden you see them put something in their mouth, and they're kind of off to the corner because they don't want anyone to see them doing it. I'm like, what'd you just throw in your mouth over there? And they're like, an edible. I'm like, you were so against it. He goes, it's candy though, man. No one really knows, and it's good. It's 5 milligrams. It's micro. Don't. Yeah. I'm like, now you just give them that look, going, well, I'm glad you're part of the program now. Glad you're part of the culture. But for years you looked at me funny every time I asked you if you want to go outside and smoke a joint. So here's a joint. Do you want to smoke? And some people have said yes, and some people have said no. I just like edibles. I get it, but it's kind of funny. So it's just the whole people coming into the industry now. It's like they used to look at you weird.
No, it's exactly. There's to some degree now that it's been like legitimized in a sense, they're good with it now. And yeah, I believe me. I had something with my family where I've been advocating for a long time, for maybe too loudly, and someone gave me my wife made some rub, we took some extract and made some rub. My buddy extracted it from my plant. We knew where it came from, made it into a rub, gave it to a family member. And they were like, they tried it one day after, going golfing, hip flares up or whatever, and comes out and it's like, this stuff works. This stuff works. Don't tell John I said that. Don't tell John, It's like, oh, okay.
I love it. That's good though. You're bringing them into it some way or another. Because I've said this, and Big Earl's heard me say this on the other show we do, the Chronicles. It's there's angels in those leaves. I've been saying that for years now. Once I learned there's angels in those leaves, the healing plant, and to hear that, it's awesome. Making balm for people and tinctures and stuff to get people to really experience the plant, and maybe they'll never smoke it. But to get them experience what cannabis is all about, and the cannabinoids and the terpenes and the flavonoids and all that good stuff that's in there, it changes them, because it helps their ailments and their hips busted, or they got a sore elbow or whatever. But once they try it and they know that it doesn't have to get me psychoactive up here, but I can use it as a good way to help my ailments. It's changing people's lives and thoughts of what cannabis is. So I love it. That's awesome.
The rub's the gateway for it. It's been in for my family, for my wife's family. It's funny. They're like, what? This stuff is crazy. It works, and it doesn't cross the blood barrier too, to where like if they're worried about a drug test, it doesn't.
Yeah, it only stays on the skin.
Yeah,
it's like your skin is your largest organ anyway, so it's great. So I have one more question to ask you, and here's the question I'm going to ask you. We have a friend that's been on the show twice. Okay, he's a new friend to me. His name is Nick. And I swear I'm going to ask everybody who's a grower, who's been growing especially as long as you have. Have you ever smoked True Skunk?
Yeah.
Do you know where we can find some for him to grow?
I mean, honestly, I don't. The True Skunk I smoked was like, I remember smoking it in like it was like high school, But I remember smoking. I remember like it was True Skunk, Like I remember it was, and I've had it like a couple times, but I remember being like, damn. I mean, when you're young and you're trying to hide a bag of weed and it's True Skunk, it is really hard to hide a bag of weed. So I think it was even in like it was like 8th grade or something when I first smoked True Skunk. I mean,
he asked me if I'd ever tried it, and you know what? I couldn't tell you, because back when I started smoking when I was in 8th grade. It was when I first smoked my first joint. But going into high school it was 85 to 90. So I mean, if I got it back then, I didn't know what it was, and then in the early 2000s when I was smoking, I didn't. Someone just gave you a bag. I didn't start knowing names of strains until I would say 94, 95, when someone told me the first strain. I was like, oh, it's just not a bag of weed. It's all, like I've always said, it was regs, good or great. That's what we got. So I don't know. I mean, I know I've smoked some pretty dank, stinky, icky, dicky, stinky weed, but no one ever said it was skunky, so I didn't know.
I mean, it smells like skunk, like
yeah,
the real skunk smells like it. I mean, it does.
100%. I probably did smoke it at one time somewhere at a party, because I know I smelled some dankety dank weed. It would just lit you up, and I was like, whoa, what is that? It probably was, but I didn't know the name of it. Yeah. Like I said, no one told us shit. And if we were getting anything from the West Coast, it was very rare, and it was good. It was great, and that's what we got. So I just made a promise to myself that I would help him, because he's got a goal to try to recreate it and certain amount of time. So everybody who I have on the show now, I have a mission to try to ask them if they know where we can find something.
I don't. There's a guy I think in Kentucky who like claims that he has skunk, but I don't know if he does or doesn't.
Those mountains, baby. Yeah. Told you, those mountains of Kentucky, boy.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Definitely. I mean, it's they're again, like based on what I saw in North Carolina and how people kind of held onto their strains and didn't really go outside their groups of comfort, like, which is a real small circle. Like, you don't have too many fingers come back to the hand, is what somebody once said to me. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody has it and they just are like happy not letting it go.
Just smoking that every day, and this is mine.
Or I mean, if they're letting it go, they're selling it to somebody. Exactly, they got one person who's like their homie, who's like, you know, just
happy as fucking shit.
Good old boy, you know.
Skunk. Got me that skunk, and Nick can't have none. And Nick can't have none. I got me some skunk. It's a mission. I'm going to help him out because he's helped us out. So, got anything else to say, brother? Man, it's been a real pleasure. Got anything else to say? Plugs? Anything you want to throw your handle out there? Tell everybody where they can find you. Whatever, man.
Man, thank you guys for having me. I mean, you know, I'm not. You know, I guess if the social media would be John_Anden on the Instagram social media handle.
Sweet. What's this John Santo 3000 though? I want to know about that before we go.
That's just a joke. When I used to, so I worked for a company. I worked for a company that I used to be the sales rep where Big Earl used to work called the Grow Show. And so I would come in there, and the Grow Show was like the player haters ball on Dave Chappelle, pretty much. It was hilarious, you know. Like you go in there, and it would just be a back and forth, and there was some good knowledge to be had from some of the people, you know, definitely. But like you know, you piss one of them off too, and they just kind of let you have it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Like, I think the first time I went in there, I was a rep for a different company, and the owner of the store like pointed at a sign that's like no solicitors. You know, I mean, they weren't afraid to kind of like try to put you on your heels. And when I was working, the company I worked for got purchased by Scott's Miracle Grow. And so when that happened, I came in and I was like, you can just call me John Santo 3000 or something like that. And so that became my customer.
Why is that not your fucking
password.
Instagram handle? That is one of a kind brilliance right there, dude. That should be like the handle of all times, dude. When Big Earl and I were talking yesterday, and I said, "What's this?" He's like, and he told me kind of the story, but I skipped you, Earl. I had to ask this question because I think that should be like, dude, that should be like a anime. John Santo 3000 coming to the rescue, humidifying atmosphere at his best. Yeah.
I got sued by them, so then I got sued by Scott's Miracle Grow, so that kind of put the kibosh on me pursuing that one, I guess.
Oh man, comic book strip at his finest, right there. That's an unbelievable name. I love it. John Santo 3000. One more time, brother. Go ahead, Earl. Sorry about that.
So we always knew what account to put it under.
There you go. Exactly.
There you go. Throw yourself one more plug. I know I interrupted, but I had to know about this story. So go ahead, throw yourself one more plug, brother. And it was a pleasure having you on, man. Looking forward to having you back sometime soon. And go ahead, man. Anything else you want to say?
Thanks. Before we go? Anden dehumidifiers. I mean, hit us up. We're happy to talk sizing one-on-one. Make sure that you get what you need, right? Because our success, it's mutually connected. We want everybody to grow the best weed possible, because then people are like, damn, what do you use? And people expand. So, like,
are you across the country, nationwide?
Yeah, I'm in every state. John Santo worldwide. I'm so pretty much I'm Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma, anywhere kind of around those states. But I mean, we all kind of work for the common goal, world domination. No, just kidding on that last one. But
love it. I love it. Well, thank you, John, for joining us, and it's a pleasure. And Big Earl, my brother, what a great show. And got anything else to say?
Yeah, I want to thank John. It was great to see your face, man. Good to talk with you.
Great to see you.
Want to make sure everybody out there doesn't forget their cow mag. If you're having some kind of humidity issue, especially spray that shit on your humidifier. It'll work way better. Cow mag.
Everybody, don't forget the cow mag. Peace.